Fusebox.
Okay, this is Fusebox number 207, Triumph of the Ill. And you are in desperate need of counseling.
Yeah, perhaps with a little help from the mental health hammer. Yeah, it's gonna feel great once it stops hurting, isn't it, huh? Hello, friends, and welcome in to this, the 207th edition of Fusebox, irreparably entitled Triumph of the Ill. And I am your losing ground but gaining in stature every day host, Marc Rose, and over there, poised for greatness, should it ever show up, it's the captain of compression himself, Milt Keynes, everyone.
Thank you kindly. So, this title is what? It's based on a film?
Well, yeah, loosely, at best. Yes, a famous bit of propaganda made by Leni Riefenstahl in 1935 called Triumph of the Will.
Yeah, okay. So I know that you were there during the premiere. So let us know.
Oh, now cut that out!
Now, this was about Hitler, yeah?
Yes. Yes, it was. It was commissioned by Hitler himself, and he kind of served as the unofficial executive producer on it. But Miss Riefenstahl was director, producer, and editor on the thing, and in many ways, this film is an incredible example of the selling of a candidate.
Yeah, because Hitler was coming up in those days.
Yeah.
So this was what? His public relations campaign?
Yeah, and a very powerful one, too. It covered the 1934 Nazi Party Congress in Nuremberg, which at the time had an amazing 700,000 Nazi supporters in attendance.
Scary thought.
Yeah, scary times bring scary options. Yeah, you get to see speeches by, Nazi leaders like Rudolf Hess and Julius Streicher, and sprinkled in with SA and SS troops, and, of course, public reaction, naturally all showing support for Hitler and his movement to return Germany as a great power, with, of course, Hitler as its leader.
Make Adolf great again?
I never thought of it that way, but the initials lock up. Yeah.
Well, if the jackboots fit.
The other ironic thing about this film is, of course, all the awards it garnered throughout Europe for its technical achievements, as well as the fact that during World War II, Frank Capra's 7-film series, Why We Fight, was absolutely directly inspired by Triumph of the Will and what the United States response to it was. The film continues to influence films and documentaries and even commercials to this day.
Oh, gives me the jitters, bro.
Yeah. But you sure that wasn't from the 11th cup of coffee this morning, huh?
I mean, some of the things going on out there these days, it just makes you stop and wonder if we aren't seeing this same thing play out again.
Yes, some of it gives us pause, for sure. Oh, and by the way, if there are curious folks out there who might want to see this thing for realsy, our friends at Synapse Films have released a restored print of this a number of years ago, and a link to that is lurking down there in the show notes for you. I'll tell you, it really was a controversial release for Don and the company over there at Synapse, as you might imagine, right? Some folks, understandably so, have a hard time seeing past what it stands for or what it helped to create, as it turns out.
What? Political advertising?
Touche, Mr. Keynes. Allow me to add here also, because we would certainly be amiss if we didn't absolutely acknowledge the mess that Hurricane Ian swirled up in Florida in the last few days.
Yeah, we give them a lot of pokes.
Yeah.
But no one should have to go through that kind of destruction.
Indeed not. And speaking as one who experienced more than one soggy, wind-torn experience down there when I was living there, it's no fun. So we send out our positive vibes for those who are having to deal with that catastrophic calamity.
Well, they're getting help from the Fed, yeah?
Yes. But may I add something?
Uh-oh.
This from the Department of Vague History's Bureau. Friends, many may not recall this little tidbit. But lest we forget, the now governor of the state, Ron the Sandslug, back before he was a governor, in 2013, as a matter of fact, when he was just a newly elected congressman, he was one of 67 Republicans who voted against a $9.7 billion federal flood insurance assistance package for the victims of Hurricane Sandy in New York and New Jersey.
Well, sure. They're all Yankees.
Yeah. Couldn't quite see the benefit of that proposal. Too bad for those folks. But, life's a bitch, and then you drown in muddy floodwaters. C'est la vie.
Wait, so didn't he just...
Kiss up to the president? Yes, he did. As if none of this prior attitude had ever happened. Stating it was a time to put away all the partisan shenanigans and just do the right thing. Really? I'm sure the folks trying to rebuild their tattered lives after Hurricane Sandy would have loved to have had your nonpartisan philosophy during their time of need. But since the waterway is at your front door, well, it's a whole different day in the neighborhood, ain't it?
Holy carp.
Yeah, just saying.
So, did you see that follow-up piece that Regina sent us?
Yes, Mr. Keynes, I did. Our social media maven, Regina Carroll, always the multitasking wunderkind.
Yeah, I saw what you did there.
Yeah, a little Germanic continuity. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, she happened to notice a news item that follows up on what we were talking about on the very last show. That being the accidental deaths of several prominent Russian technology and energy officials, particularly those who have spoken publicly and against the war on Ukraine. This report here from The Insider says here, the former head of a Russian aviation research institute died a few days back, reportedly by falling down the stairs, in the latest in a string of deaths of Russian officials. The Moscow Aviation Institute University, also known as MAI, announced the death of Anatoly Gerashenko, saying he died as a result of an accident by falling down from a great height, down several flights of stairs.
Several flights of stairs, you say?
Yeah, that's what they say, Mr. Keynes.
So then that means it had to be a really big push, then.
Well, it's inferred that he lost his footing.
I'd submit someone took his footing and handed it to him backwards.
Yeah. Well, it says here that Gerashenko was the Institute's rector until 2015, and at the time of his death was acting as an advisor to the current rector. The Institute, calling it a colossal loss, said that it would launch an investigation into the death, involving representatives from MAI, the Russian Ministry of Education and Science, and the State Labor Inspectorate in Moscow.
And we'll be looking for those investigators at the bottom of elevator shafts soon.
Well, what's odd, of course, is that all the recent accidental deaths have been from the tech and energy fields. The one Gerashenko was connected to apparently developed several technologies with military applications, such as AI, drones, avionics, and aerospace research, and, of course, has ties with Russia's Ministry of Defense. Tying this in, on September 13, the body of Ivan Pechorin washed up more than 100 miles from where he had fallen off a speeding boat in Vladivostok 3 days earlier. Can you imagine? Anyway, Pechorin headed up aviation for Russia's Far East and Arctic Development Corporation and had recently spoken at a conference where Putin gave the keynote address. The same corporation also lost its CEO, 43-year-old Igor Nosov, who evidently died of a stroke in February.
Now, was that from poison underwear, too?
No underwear experts were consulted, evidently, Mr. Keynes. Prior to that, a further 5 executives or bosses, most of whom had links to the energy industry, have all died in rather suspicious circumstances since the beginning of the year.
Nothing to see here.
Well, except a lot of dead people, evidently. Yeah. Back after a brief reset, friends.
Oh, what a perfectly terrible belief.
TheFuseboxShow.com.
And we are back, bro.
Well, splendid. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but I thought it was amusing that Representative Liz Cheney, she of the seemingly sensible yet dwindling part of the Republican Party, was attending the Texas Tribune Festival last week, and while she was being interviewed, dropped this little polite bombshell. The J6 committee evidently has received over 800,000 new pages of documents from the Secret Service.
800,000?
Yeah. Fancy that.
Holy carp. Well, weren't they saying that they didn't have anything to send because they were, changing tech or something and everything got erased or some such?
Yeah. Kind of like that accidentally falling down 7 flights of stairs thing, Or taking a little clumsy stroll off the balcony. Yeah. This didn't happen either.
In your less than humble opinion.
And it's correct. It's what it says is that there's a lot of communications here, and from a variety of sources, and some of the more critical pieces evidently are still missing from this collection.
Assumed erased.
Yes. Of course, you know what they say about assuming.
It makes an ass out of them and them.
Or something. Anyway, more data, and the report that telephone calls were being made to the rioters outside the Capitol from inside the White House is also a little problematic.
Well, it was probably Matt Gaetz calling to see if there were any underage female insurrectionists in the crowd.
Okay, you, right there.
Just saying, what we're all thinking.
Can't wait to see where this is going. The allegations are piling up, and the indictments, well, they are looming.
Well, I just hope they get there before the next election.
Yeah, that would be optimal. So, we were having a really interesting discussion, another one, actually, in the break room earlier this week.
Who?
You and me.
We were?
Yeah. Remember about the randomness thing?
Oh, that wasn't me, bro. No, it must have been that Russian tech or energy guy.
What?
I'm just covering my tracks in case, they might be listening.
They?
Well, I mean, you've been pushing kind of hard on that dead Russian guy's thing, and well, I'm not looking to end up at the bottom of a staircase.
What? Hell, man, you've ended up there plenty of times.
Well, yeah, but that was because I couldn't make it up the stairs, but...
Well, in any event, the aforementioned Mr. Keynes, who wasn't there, and I were having a discussion about the term random, and how it really isn't as random as it may appear many times.
Well, we got off on this because I was saying how I like the little dice button in a lot of the software these days. You push that and sometimes happy accidents happen. A lot of times, actually.
Aha! So you admit it. You were there.
Who?
Okay. So yeah, as the Phantom Milt was saying, sometimes software has this option, usually depicted by an image of a dice, or is that a die? I'm never quite sure. But by pushing that little button, you throw caution to the winds, and every parameter will change on the current selection, giving you a sometimes very cool result, really.
Sometimes ugly as shit.
Yeah, sometimes much less than delightful, too, for sure. But fun, nonetheless. So the notion arose from this chat that really, even though by doing that it may appear random, it's really a very deliberate set of programming that specifies discrete parameters that will be, quote, randomized. It only appears random.
Well, it's kind of like it tells the software, okay, pick a number from 1 to 127, but not number 379 because we only go to 127.
Yeah, and each time you pick that number, decrease the potential to pick the same number again, and in the same setting by the specified number, which changes each time.
And I think that's where I grabbed another beer.
Yeah, but we were saying that maybe this randomness, even in life, may not be quite as random as it appears. Maybe it's just a very deep pattern we can't yet recognize.
That's where my head started to hurt.
That's only because that was your 12th beer.
Well, yeah, that whole, what's it called? The maiden belch thing you were trying to...
The Mandelbrot set.
Yeah.
It's a mathematical formula that creates this ever-changing, ever-evolving pattern. It looks kind of like, well, if you've ever seen a fractal image, it looks something like that. So no matter how close you zoom in, the image keeps going down farther and farther and endlessly evolving into more evolutions.
Yeah, that thing. Holy carp. I was looking at that video you sent, and it was like watching a playback of one of my acid trips.
Oh, yeah, it's just pure mathematics. That's the amazing thing. And there's a link, by the way, to that video in the show notes for those brave souls who want to see what we're talking about. But be forewarned, this thing is quite hypnotic, and it's about 2.5 hours long, but very hypnotic.
You think?
Oh, yeah, I think. I picked that one because of the screen resolution and frame rate. It's really vivid.
Yeah, I know it tweaks a lot of folks sideways when somebody says, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But you know what? Things do happen for a reason, but maybe not the reason you're thinking.
Well, it's kind of an awkward tangent, but yeah, clever. Mr. Keynes, I see where you...
Right. I mean, do folks get some kind of comfort from the idea that things are random? Would it scare the living shit out of them to think maybe that there really is an order to things? Not to get all religious on it and shit, but...
Well, but you're right there. It's mostly the stance of religions, that there is a divine purpose. Perhaps it's actually somewhere in between.
You mean between a peyote trip and the lake of fire?
So to speak. I mean, there is a kind of expected resignation in some religious circles, the kind of self-imposed powerlessness that's implied in many of those beliefs that I personally I don't buy into. It's just a kind of passive, yeah, a passive, non-proactive stance that I don't think anyway is part of the idea for life here.
Well, you know what? It is if you're a fan of hanging all your responsibilities on a middleman. You are the one you've been waiting for.
Can I get an ahem?
Ahem. The previous statements are the opinions of the hosts of the Fusebox program, and not necessarily those of staff, management, or the exotic Asian rodents that reside on the premises.
Opinions! Yay!
Hey, I've been meaning to ask, what's, LVX Eterna?
Oh, really? You were going to ask about...
No, just had this hot woman on the cover, and I was...
Oh, I see, yeah. Well, I just had a glimmer of hope there for a moment that you'd actually be interested in a film like that.
Well, you know what they say about hope.
He who lives on hope dies of starvation. I cannot take credit for that. It's an ancient Turkish proverb.
Awesome. I'm going to get a tattoo of that.
Well, to answer your question, Mr. Keynes, it's actually called Lux Eterna by Gaspar Noé, the same gentleman who brought us wondrous cinematic treats like Enter the Void, Irreversible, I Stand Alone, Climax, among others. It's actually about a doomed film shoot. Tragically huge egos running in overdrive, sort of an emotional train wreck of people. And a witch burning.
Huh?
Yeah. Most of the script is improvised, and it was shot just at the beginning of the pandemic, so there's that wrinkle.
Was there an evil warden?
No.
Leather nun?
No. Sorry, Mr. Keynes. I'm going to flip all the cards and tell you that this film actually got made because Gaspar Noé was approached by a producer friend of his who had a small budget available to do a mid-length film, but with a couple of teeny-weeny little caveats. One, it had to feature various clothing designs from the fashion designer who was putting up the cash. And two, that it had to be made really quickly, as I think they were running for a deadline to get this thing shown at Cannes. And then, of course, the funds would evaporate.
What, they turn back into cabbages?
Well, something like that. So he enlisted a few of his associates and cast two of the leads as themselves, Beatrice Dallet and Charlotte Gainsborough. Dallet plays the director of this this hellbound production. They're supposed to be making a horror film, but due to egos and continuous technical problems, the set just plunges into surrealistic chaos.
Apocalypse then.
Very good analogy, Mr. Keynes. Yes, very much the same kind of madness ensues here. This was a special midnight screening feature at Cannes in 2019, and at the time was really highly acclaimed. But not everybody's bowl of chowder, for sure. Safe to say that really about all of Noé's work, but I found it absolutely intriguing as hell and frankly a little too familiar in terms of the rites of passage in, frankly, any production.
Yeah, sounds like something to put on while I leave the room.
Well, it's not a whip flick, Mr. Keynes.
Oh, I love me some women in prison movies, bro.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Well, I'm still waiting on your 9-star review of Love Camp of the SS. I mean, how could you not dig the shit out of this one?
Well, there might be several...
He's got it all, man. Naked people, a wicked female warden, naked people, whips. Did I mention naked people? Oh, and yelling and
Sounds riveting.
no rivets. I mean, if that's your thing, it's cool, but no, I don't seem to recall. Hey, wait, there is a scene with a drill press and an enema bag that was absolutely...
And for those interested in this rather nice edition of Gaspar Noé's Lux Eterna, it's put out by Yellow Veil Pictures and distributed by the folks at Vinegar Syndrome, who have done some terrific releases this year. I hope we get to some of those. I have a link in the show notes, and may I also add quickly a warning to those, too, who might be sensitive to flashing lights at any variety. This film features a rather dramatic and extended sequence of that effect.
Well, what if you put on a strobe light at the same time? Would it cancel it out?
Thought-provoking question, Mr. Keynes.
Inquiring minds want to know, bro.
Well, please have them fill out their questions in triplicate and make 11 copies, color-coded and marked to be shredded, and we'll get right on their inquiries.
That's really cool, bro.
And with that, we'll grab our soiled, life-size cutouts of infamous dictators and crawl out through the hole in the terrazzo floor. But not before thanking our contributor to this edition of Fusebox, Jody Lorimer, for excellence in ID pronunciations. And thanks as well to the infernal man of misery, Milt Keynes, for technical assistance and so forth and so on over there.
A true slice as never. Hey, folks, if you dig what we do here, and, well, even if you don't, subscribe to this here show, okay? Hell, it's free, for Christ's sake. Do that wherever you found this show. Leave us a review, too. 9 or 10 stars should do it, I think.
Yes, but also, why not be one of the in the know who have joined us on Patreon? There's all sorts of exclusive content, early releases of this here program, and a super secret voicemail line that allows you to leave a comment, a message, or your grocery list, among other exciting things. Find us at patreon.com/The Fusebox Show. And of course, there's a handy link in the show notes.
And you can also visit the spiffy new Fusebox store, where the cranky shop elves have been busy creating all kinds of Fusebox-related swag. Yeah, you really should check it out. Find it at the link in the show notes, or on our Facebook page by clicking the Shop Now button, or at the FuseboxShow.com webpage and just clicking the swag tab.
Yes, friends, it's that easy. And
It's so good for you.
so thank you all for pushing play. We know there are dryer vents to clean and sock drawers to organize by color and texture. So we thank you for spending your time here with us, and I have been your thoroughly engaged but napping intently host, Marc Rose, saying until our next cartoon. Fuse.